Hey everybody, thank you so much for coming to yet another one of the videos that we're going to do. Today we're talking to Brandon from Skill Prepare. And what he does is he helps you develop the training for your company. And it is extremely important to train your staff correctly and also to make sure that everyone's on the same page, whether it's a client or a employee. So without further ado, Brandon, tell us about Skill Prepare, what you do, who you are, and what got you into what you're doing.
Yeah, thanks, Bill. My name's Brandon Paulus. I'm with Go Prepare, like Bill said, and our company is all focused on providing digital training solutions for the workplace. As you can see in this new kind of, ever since COVID, this new kind of hybrid workforce where we have employees at home, some coming in the office a few days a week, things can kind of getting a little shaken up as far as when we're onboarding, who's training to, and how we're keeping that consistency. So we look at it from a digital strategy in implementing training videos and platforms that make it really hands-free and management-free to train and onboard employees. And that's the whole purpose, because at the end of the day, you as a business owner, you don't want to be focused on those menial tasks or having other employees train and do those tasks, because that's taking off of productivity and taking your focus on what really matters most as a business owner, which is growing that business, continuing to grow that brand, and of course, hiring more employees as you scale. So that's really the gist of what we do, and we've really worked with a lot of companies from small to very large, and just what we've learned throughout just the whole process is when you have something digital and it's the same, you're consistent and your workload becomes consistent and stays consistent. And that just translates throughout the whole business. Just through like McDonald's, I always use an analogy. If you go to McDonald's in California or you go to McDonald's in New York and you order French fries, you're going to get the same French fries. You're not going to get something with extra pepper on the side or something different. You're getting that the same because that company at that level is training consistently and using a platform like this. So we really wanted to take those strategies and apply affordability to it and bring that to the small business market.
Awesome. So definitely a few topics that we can talk about in there, and things that definitely came up as we talked about it. And what I want to kind of get into is, um, let's define training first. I think that a lot of companies have different ideas on what training is and what it involves, but what is training and what is the benefit of having that in your company?
Well, that's the thing. There's two forms of training, in my opinion, in a business, just to start with that, Bill, and that is onboarding and ongoing training. And some companies might really not even do the second one, which is ongoing training. However, but let's focus on the first one because that's most important. You come in as a new employee, you're off the streets, you know absolutely nothing about my business. How do we get you to the same skill level or operating just as good as Susie, who has been here for 10 years? So that's really the hurdle that a lot of things in our workplace that we've seen with our clients is that's the biggest thing, is getting someone with no knowledge into something. So of course, having them watch a full list of videos, or traditionally having them shadow someone, like in restaurants, or as much as known, you follow Joe around for 2 weeks, kind of get to know him, get to know what they do, and hopefully at the end of those 2 weeks, you come out of some probationary period and we can kind of set you free. But what happens after those 2 weeks, and what happens with those questions and that, oh, I forgot that Joe told me to do it this way. I completely forgot how to do that. What happens after that? And that's where inconsistencies happen. One of our clients has a law firm that's personal injury. And one of the biggest things they do when they onboard is they teach them how to get a police report. It's very vital in accidents to get a police report, know what happened, what's going on, what's the next approach. And they said time and time again, they have new employees coming up to, ask, how do I do this? How do I do this? I forgot. You told me to do it this special way, but how do I do this? So he just said, if I could just have video for that one, you'd save me an hour a week. And we did that, and it saved him a ton of time. So that's the onboarding aspect of it. You want that, again, you want to keep that consistency, and you don't want to pull other people away from training, and that meaning existing employees. If I'm a very busy workload person at my job and then my boss comes in and says, hey, you got to train this person for 2 weeks. Well, now I'm behind 2 weeks. Maybe I had other agenda and different initiatives or other things that to tackle that now I have to balance. So now you're putting more workload stress on your employees. And at the end of the day, you don't want to do that. You want to keep that evenly distributed. And the purpose of hiring more employees is to reduce that stress load and all grow together.
Absolutely. I completely agree. And, I think to kind of go into the, my question just went out of my head, but with the training and stuff, we talked about onboarding and ongoing, and I definitely agree. So let's talk about onboarding for now. With onboarding in general, what are some things that people should think about to put in training? Like commonalities, if you will, because I know it's different. Like there are specialties, but what are some things that are things they definitely need to think about and want to put in training like this? And how do we kind of put that together from a sense of what needs to be done?
Yeah, and I mean, obviously there can be multiple levels to that, but obviously what's most important in my eyes would be the redundant tasks and the front tasks of the day, things that are happening multiple times over and over. Just to use the law injury as an example again, police report, that's something that may happen in that office maybe 30 times a day. So tasks like that is happening frequently and over again. And another thing even further would be, and this might take a little self-reflection as a business owner, would be to identify the weak areas. Where is the areas that Susie is messing up and may need some training? Or when we bring the next person on, what are we doing wrong that we told Susie, that she's having issues with? So it really has just a bunch of different sides to it, if you will. But it really is important to focus on your primary tasks, the daily tasks that are in the workplace instead of the soft skills. And I don't want anybody to take this as misconception. Yes, soft skills should be taught, but that is more, like you said, the ongoing training. Mm-hmm. We want to focus on getting you off the street and getting you acclimated about our business. That would be the onboarding side. Once you get to ongoing, which I feel is very important, that's your soft skills. Keep building sales skills, keep building customer service skills. Yes, we're all human. We all need to continuously learn to grow. It's our nature. But onboarding is those important tasks. And also a little bit, it doesn't hurt to throw a little bit about your business. Give a little bit about your culture, the brand. You want to make people, when they're a new employee, you want to make them feel at home. Everyone gets the little bit of jitters, till they get comfortable with the people they're working next to and stuff. It's a little nerve-wracking when you're starting a new job at a place. So doing all of this helps people feel comfortable. And that's really helps translate to they're easier to train and they become better employees.
I agree. And I think that when it comes to, doing that onboarding and thinking of those different items when you're doing the training, it's important to get that first set together, but also the benefit of having, a training built, whether it's, videos or print or whatever, having it together. Now you can start building and compounding on that, where now you can add in videos and be like, oh, well, this person said that they had trouble with that. I'll do a video on that. And this person said they had trouble with that. So I'll do a video on that or write a book on that or whatever. Mm-hmm. And now there's more and more accumulating that you can put your employees through. And like you said, it'll get them more comfortable. So now you could even have things where, role play is a popular thing for sales trainings, like, you're in this situation, you're trying to do this cold call, and this is what the handle is that comes back. How do you answer that, or how do you overcome that? And that can be a combination of regular training and then ongoing training. But the more you can build these libraries, now your training becomes easier and easier and more reliable, and as your company gets more involved, it just expands upon itself. So, that's kind of the benefit of taking the time out to really put this stuff together.
Absolutely. And I like that word you used, Bill, reliable. It mm-hmm. makes your systems reliable because you got to be methodical in business, and systems, processes and procedures, they're everything.
Hmm. Absolutely. All right, so let's touch a little bit on the ongoing side of things. So, um, what are some ongoing items that people should think about putting having trainings together on, or having things together with with training stuff? And then, what are some ideas besides just having videos together? Like, what are some ongoing trainings that people have done before, or that could be adding that excitement factor? Because I know that trainings can get boring too.
And that was exactly what I was going to lead with. Yeah, ongoing training, yeah, it's necessary, but at the end of the day, we don't want to bore your employees to death and be like, oh my gosh, another training module. And honestly, some of that can be eradicated with in-person training, and that kind of gives it a little more of a fun day. Yeah, people say, oh, it's droney, or have to sit here through all of this, but we've been in some great and really fun in-person training, especially when it comes to like building evacuation, where they have actors flying out and the fire department coming. So there's been some really cool things, but yeah, just aside from that, just keeping it engaging, but also kind of giving them skills that they isn't necessarily pertain to the business, that they would say, hey, you know what, I'm actually kind of interested in learning that. That's a tool or knowledge that if I leave XYZ company tomorrow, I can take that with me throughout my future. So it's really not about forcing them and hitting them with a stick. It's more about the carrot, if you will. You want to say, hey, you want to find engaging training and find something that's kind of a middle ground between, yes, it's helping your business because you're inciting a more knowledgeable employee, but also on their side, they're motivated because they're learning something that they, could be useful or they can take throughout their career. So a lot of those obviously are the big ones is sales. That's a huge one. Customer service, because who doesn't need more customer service training?
Hmm.
um, and really along those lines. But another side could also be marketing, which is huge because marketing's changing like, by the week, by the day. Facebook is questionable now. Now the metaverse. I mean, how are we going to market in this? So for marketing departments, just keeping them kind of cutting edge with the latest tech updates. And this can be something as far as, hey, we're going to have 30 minutes a week of a brainstorm session, and we're all just going to surf the news about tech. We're going to learn about Facebook. We're just going to just kind of gain knowledge about what the market's doing, what we're doing, and how we can adjust that to our business. So Bill, it doesn't always have to be an in-person someone come in training. This could be just a internal group session. Hey, we're all going to sit in the conference room for 30 minutes and we're just going to, like I said, surf the web. We're going to look at this, or we're all going to watch this video and we're going to insight on it or role play. So there's a bunch of factors that really can go into it. And another thing is for some of the other industries that are very software intensive, online uses a lot of SaaS or anything along those lines. Of course, that stuff always changes too. So that'd be kind of the ongoing training that people might find a little useful because they need that to do their daily job.
Yeah, definitely. And I like what you're saying about making it interactive and varying what you're doing for your training. And I think that when it comes to owning a company or any kind of business, realizing that training or having people understand or stay up on the times, like you said, is extremely important to have as an ongoing thing. And even though it's time invested, the return on investment in that is great. Yeah, and then figuring out where to put it, how to schedule it, how to make it work with what you're looking to do. So if you have sales training people, don't schedule their training in the morning or whenever they're supposed to be doing their lead gen. Have it be outside of those hours. Even if it's a training you want to do one Saturday out of the month, you require your sales people to show up. Like, it's worth it to, if they have to refine their skills. Maybe they're all cold calling and like having script practice every other Saturday or something. I think that that's something that all business owners need to take to heart when they're building their business, because the more you can have that education constantly coming in, the better your workforce is going to be, the more time conscientious and whatever the trainings might be on, they're going to be better and better and better and give you that return on investment. So all of that was leading me to the next thing, which is not in my head any longer. But so we talked about onboarding, we talked about ongoing. Now I want to kind of break down a training in itself. So when a company is thinking like, okay, I want to put a training together, and let's for an example say I want to put a training together on cold calling, right? Maybe there's just a heavy cold calling company. What is a way they want to think when they format that? Because obviously the topics they put in are going to be different, but like, what is a good way for them to structure that and format that so that it gets maximum effect? Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. I think honestly, the best way to do that, let's use a cold calling company, is to utilize data from within your company. So go to Bill, who is the top salesman at XYZ sales company, and just shadow him. What his script is. See what he does. Go to your next salesperson, and then put polar opposites. Go to your worst salesman and see what they are. Use that data and that insight and those scripts to put something together of your own. And of course, use your own best judgment as well, because at the end of the day, utilizing what's working best in there and then tying it in with external resource knowledge, now you're creating a specific company video that also has external knowledge. Now, I'm not saying don't go online and watch YouTube and read books. Of course, you want to do that. That's where you're gaining that knowledge. But sometimes it can start from within, and sometimes you have that superstar employee where everyone's not performing to, and it's like, hey, I'm just gonna learn from you and use my skills and use what I'm learning externally through. LinkedIn is a great resource now that has a lot of free learning courses on. The thing is, you want to apply that to company specific. You don't want to be sending Joe the salesman to LinkedIn or YouTube to watch a bunch of videos. It's just not professional. And you want it to be your company specific material. So by using data from within and then mixing that and creating content, whether it's just a manual that's typed out in a PDF document, or simple as open your phone up and just voice, hey, this is how you do, this is the script. I want you to have this tone of voice. Using all that knowledge and combining in one is a great way to do that. And also, we have a team of experts and technical advisors that can insight that external knowledge, so you don't have to go to YouTube and stuff. So we have a great resources as well.
Absolutely, and I like how you're pulling it all together. So, to summation it and spit it back, which I think is beneficial to people watching, is find out who's doing it the best and your internal metrics that you're going to measure those things by, compile that together into, okay, this script worked very well with him, and this time that he was calling worked really well. But then also looking at your customer and seeing how it pertains to that. And then if you're recording your numbers correctly, like you should be in sales, how many reach outs to how many people are actually answering the phone, how many people are actually staying on the phone for a conversation, and then how many people are, doing all that stuff through the pipeline. Now you can kind of look at it and see like, okay, he did this script this day, this script that day, this script this day, and this one did best. All right, we're going to go with that one. And then what did he say? And now you're starting to put that training together so that someone who is your worst salesman can watch it and start picking up without having to take your good salesman off the line.
Exactly.
And that's the value. So really cool. All right, so we talked about onboarding, ongoing. We kind of broke down what should go into your training. Have one other question.
Okay.
So I'm going to talk it out to make sure that I get it across, because I don't know how to exactly to phrase the question.
That's okay.
What I'm thinking is, so we have the let's say we hire someone brand new, first day. What is like a day in the life, if you will, of like what a good flow of training might be, and based off of people we've worked with, the knowledge that you have, what would be a good example of like guys hired to, the other side operating, I guess, like what are some typical trainings they would go through? What are some ways to work someone through that you've seen? What are some examples? You know what I mean? Because obviously things are going to alter depending on who you are, but some like examples on how it would come together, let's say.
Yeah, so obviously shadowing is probably the biggest and the most used training method of these days. Just go watch someone do it for a couple weeks and come in. But what we've seen through the market and what really works best is when a person's fresh, it's best to break them into that consistent mold via watching all those training videos. Yeah, you are burning payroll for 1 to 3 days. You might actually burn payroll for a whole week, depending on how many modules you have. But what that's doing is that's building in their head that consistency, and it's giving them a little comfort. So that way, when they do get put into a shadowing situation, which I still feel should be done, but possibly on a minimal situation, it gives you two factors. One, you can assess that person, see how ready they are. You might have them shadow someone for 15 minutes and be like, you guys got it, never mind. Videos worked 100% effectively. And vice versa, the employee themselves may get on the line that first day after watching those videos and be way more comfortable. Hey, I saw that in a video. I know exactly how to do that already. And that's really, again, going back to just that comfortable situation. So that's where I like to kind of start them. Yeah, it might be a little boring for them up front, but first kind of few days on the job site kind of helps break them in. Yeah, they still go to lunch with a couple employees. They can still walk around still walk around the office and get a little bit of engagement. But really, I prefer for them to focus just watching those videos because that gives them the best knowledge. And then that way, you're always going to have some employees who don't want to train others. So at least if they use a technical term or, hey, go you grab this, you have some kind of insight. They're just not fed to the wolves and then, not comfortable. And then they end up quitting and, you just start repeating that process. And then now you're burning payroll, time, money, et cetera, et cetera. And it's like, it could have just been stopped by starting them off small and introducing them rather than just throwing them out on the floor.
Yeah, I agree. And then also, like we previously just said, you're now not taking that person who would be having them shadow away from doing their calls or their sales for that first week. So they get to actually do more than they would if they were not able to. So you're making that up, even if you're, like you said, paying for them for that first week to watch all the videos. You're not lowering your income because that other guy can't make those calls or whatever the sale process might be. And then they're not getting someone raw. They have basic concepts so that now they can get them started quicker or faster and up to speed, but also not be dogging down for the next 2 or 3 weeks trying to explain everything again. So very good. I like that a lot. All right. So before we get into some actionable steps to kind of get your head together and moving forward with trainings and onboarding and stuff, is there anything else you think that we should go over or talk about?
I think that's good. I think that was good and insightful. Is there anything else you may have, or you want to hop into the next section?
No, I think this is pretty much it. So at least all my topics, but anybody watching can also reach out to you to ask more. So with this next piece of some actionable items and such. So anyone watching is like, okay, I get it. Training is a good idea. I need to put this together. We mentioned a few things that they need to do, but like, what are some good first steps for someone's like, I've never had training. I don't know anything about training. I like the idea of what you just said. What is the next thing I should be doing?
So honestly, first thing is just see what positions you guys have and assess. I'm a big just assess what you have. Look at what you have and, see how many positions you have. There may be situations where you only have 2 employees. There's really no sense in creating a complex training module system for two positions. Instead, you can do that on a smaller, easier scale. That would be just as effective. That could also be spun on the other side. You might have 500 employees with 30, 40 different positions. So really starting with the position of the employees is best. And then you look in that position. Let's use an easy one. If it's a receptionist, well, what is the daily duties of that receptionist? Obviously, they need to pick up the phone. They need to send emails. They need to do some specialty tasks. They may need to collect some document at 3 p.m., scan it in, it has to be submitted to some server. So when looking in all those positions, you're actually talking out what steps or training modules need to be done. So now they need to answer the phone every day. Well, let's do a module on how to answer the phone. Some people use Grasshopper, some people use Intermedia Unite, which is a different phone system. We have Cisco VoIP, so all those are different. So to a new receptionist or to a new employee, we may want to convey those skills. And that doesn't have to be in a video. That can be just steps. Hey, to set up a voicemail, step 1, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm not always talking we have to go crazy complex with all these fancy graphics. This can be a simple sticky note on the receptionist desk on how to do something, or a PDF manual or a Google document. So really starting with the positions kind of gets you to see where that complexity is and how deep you have to go. Now, of course, if you're training a armed security guard on tactical training, I don't think the sticky note's going to do. you may want some video and some simulation and some animation on how to do this and how to do that. So it really varies through the spectrum, but going back to really starting with each position, looking at each employee and seeing, if I were to bring someone on tomorrow, what am I going to tell them? And this can also go further, as if you are onboarding currently while you're trying to build these and you're just doing shadowing, try to shadow the shadow, which means follow them around for just maybe 15, 20 minutes or an hour and try to capture that information and put that into a manual or a handbook or a video or anything, or even an email we've seen. So as simple as it goes and complex as it goes, just the biggest thing is you want to convey those processes and those procedures that are specific to your company, and that will just help your employee. Because yeah, it's training at the end of the day, but think of it as you're trying to just give your employee tools. So if you're building this toolbox out to tell your employee to, hey, we're going to build this beautiful house, which is your business, and in theory, what tools are you going to put in that toolbox? So for the receptionist, obviously I want to put a phone, how to do that, how to work this, an instruction set. So that's really what I would prefer to do, is start with the position and then expand it and see which module and build modules for each one.
Absolutely. And I think that's a great first step, and also, where you really need to start. And I think that the only thing I would add, which is, something to remember and why training itself is important, we've touched on it a little bit, is humans in general, they're afraid of anything they don't understand, or are nervous about things they don't understand. So the more you help them understand, the more you get rid of that. Now, a simple thing like getting used to picking up the phone and talking, that's easier to get past. But like you're saying, if you have someone who's doing security, they might be in situations that are awkward and weird and potentially violent and things like that. So the more you have on situations they can be in, how to handle it, what's the steps to do, the more the brain and the human understands what's going on, the less confused, the less uncertain, the less they'll fail. All of that won't exist. So that is the importance of training, and that's why humanity looks for education and understanding wherever they can. So awesome. I really love it. Anything else that you think we should touch on before we finish up?
I think we're good, Bill. Yeah.
Cool. So thanks again, everybody, for watching. Brandon from Skill Prepare, all about training and such. And if you have any questions, please reach out to him, because training is essential in everything. So thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you guys in the networking event later on.